Welcome to Trading Capital's exclusive analysis. In today's video, we're discussing natural gas. So we've been telegraphing and telling you about Nat Gas for a little bit here, a couple months at least. And basically what we've been discussing is we were tactically bullish Nat Gas as long as we were above the key area. And the key area was this gap fill. If you go all the way back to your 2020 gap, this was the high liquidity zone here, this 186 gap fill that we were discussing for several weeks and likely even several months here on this channel. And we said as long as you're above 186 on this Nat Gas time frame, you have to remain bullish. And look at the test of this area here. 186 level tested for numerous days. Breakout, back test, 186 level held again. And now price action is just ripping to the upside in Nat Gas, and it's looking like it's breaking out of a stage one basing formation and likely heading for potentially much higher price action. Now in the near term, is Nat Gas a bit extended into resistance? The answer is yes and yes. Does it likely mean that it could go lower in the near term? Yes. How low? That's the question we're going to try to find an answer to. Now, one of the reasons why Nat Gas stopped at this particular price, if you actually go to your weekly time frame, okay, throw in your weekly chart, you can see this massive, huge reversal pivot. Look at that low pivot. Look at pretty much where we stopped today, okay? Then you take it one step further. You take your trend line tool, drag it from this low pivot in 2020 all the way through this high consolidation zone, through these pivots, through this little low pivot, and then connecting through this pivot. Take a look at what we pierced today and then got rejected on, and now in the next session, the future session here, we're actually selling off a touch in Nat Gas. So there's a lot of chart resistance here in Nat Gas that's likely going to need to have to back and fill, consolidate, and then eventually press through this area. But as long as natural gas now can stay above this 213 area, I think 213 area is going to be a brick wall of support, and it's likely going to be where buyers want to keep stepping up into the picture to try to take this long trade. I will be a buyer of Nat Gas if it retests this 213 area. Full disclosure, we took profits today with our members. We sold our UNG at about $16 and it closed at $16.06 for a nice 11.5% gain. So right now, we've secured our profits on this trade and looking for a re-entry if we get a bullish pattern or some sort of a pullback to the next support range. So as of now, I am holding no position in Nat Gas, and we're looking to potentially play pullbacks. Now, where could Nat Gas go in terms of this potential stage one basing formation breakout? Well, if we look at a couple different factors, let's throw in the daily 200 moving average. That's sitting at 251. Considering we're now trading substantially above the 50-day moving average for several weeks, it makes sense that market participants are going to try to push it for the daily 200. Why does it make that sense? Well, look at the hard rejection that we got as we pierced the daily 200 here, and then it just sold. We haven't really tested the daily 200 moving average since the start of January over here where we got rejected. So this is now going to be the first test potentially coming up in 2024, several months later, of this daily 200. I do think we're going to hit that area, but it's just a matter of, do we chop in a sideways range? Do we pull back to 213? Do we tap the 50-day first? There's a lot of different variables that could unfold before we hit that price action, but I do think it will hit at some point. Now, if you take it even one step further, go to the weekly chart. I love when you have two key moving averages. You have the weekly 50 moving average at 251 and change, and then you go to the daily time frame, you have the daily 200 at 251 and change. Whenever you have two moving averages on the daily and the weekly chart, two rather large, very important moving averages, the weekly and the 50, and they're confluencing in that same area, that's likely where price action is going to try to grab that liquidity and test. So I am looking for a move into the daily 200 or the weekly 50 MA, whichever one comes first. Even if you take a look at some of these other resource stocks like Nat Gas, EQT, which we've discussed, which our members have been able to make some money on through some calls and some common shares, these weekly chart patterns in some of these resource stocks are shaping up to be rather bullish for the long term. Not only do you have smaller weekly inverse head and shoulders that have broken out, look at these larger term weekly chart patterns that could potentially be unfolding in the near term. Another thing is that you have a potential golden cross formation shaping up where you now have the 50-day moving average starting to slope in a pretty serious uptrend, and you have the daily 200 flattening out. So this is shaping up for a potential, just like you had the death cross here, this is shaping up for a potential golden cross, which does point to longer term higher prices. On that note, if you found this video useful, if you're interested in how I'm trading Nat Gas in the future, we've had some pretty stellar calls in Nat Gas. And if you're interested to see how we're trading in the near future, definitely check out my tradingcapital.ca Discord. My link is here on the screen and will also be in the comments below. And one final nugget that I will mention, who stays in this video to the end, keep your eye on uranium. URACCJ, URNM. Look at this bullish pattern. Inverted head and shoulders, broke out today, broke out a nice high degree of volume. This looks like it has upside to about 3630 on the daily chart. So uranium, another energy name that is on the near-term precipice of breaking out. Take care, everybody. We'll see you on the charts a bit later.